Born to parents Jefferson and Leahy, Jefferson Dutra George Jr. made his raucous entry into the world on November 12, 1974. Growing up in his hometown of Porto Alegre, Brazil, Jeff decided at an early age that he would one day make it big. One day came faster than anyone could have expected, however, as Jeff ate his way to epic proportions by age 9. By age 10, Jeff could no longer fit through the door to leave his house. It was this disturbing fact that led Jeff's parents to seek help for their balloon-like son. In 1985, Jeff became the first ever Brazilian recipient of gastric bypass surgery, and in the following months, he began to loosely resemble a normal boy. In the mid-1980s, times were hard for families throughout Brazil, and the Georges were no exception. Now, at a healthy 85 pounds and full of vigor and ambition, Jeff took it upon himself to find a way to chop through the urban blight that plagued his town. Astute to the fashion demands of the 1980s, Jeff realized the potential for chickens as wearables, and so he dipped into his ceramic pig-shaped bag. Jeff purchased a small lot of chickens, set half of them aside for use in a simple breeding program, and immediately began plucking the remainder. Jeff and his family used the harvested chicken feathers to construct a variety of items, from earrings and simple hair clips to a sexy line of women's lingerie. Jeff's family could afford to eat and eat well from the profits they made. But ironically, they did not need to spend any of their newfound wealth on food, as the freshly plucked chickens were serving a dual purpose. As fashion aficionados well know, the chickens as wearables industry exploded across the globe, consuming the resources of farmers and sweatshops alike into the early 1990s. All of this stemmed from the fight or flight idea of a once fat Brazilian boy. As you'd expect, Jeff grew filthy rich from the chickens as wearables industry. What you may not know is that to this very day, Jeff collects royalties every time someone utters the words "Passaros de matanca duas com uma pedra," Portuguese for "kill two birds with one stone." The phrase was coined after a reporter visited Jeff's home and witnessed his family eating the chickens that had been plucked of their beautiful feathers. Jeff was savvy enough to copyright the words as his personal property. Jeff's chicken fortune left him with cash to spare and time at his disposal. He was suddenly a man on the move, and he initiated an aggressive investment in self-service. He purchased a race car and tried his hand at the junior Formula One circuit for a brief time. When the novelty wore off, Jeff turned the keys over to his brother in favor of other self-indulgent pursuits. He began playing tennis, and after learning how to hit a proper backhand, Jeff fought his way onto the Pro Tour. Though his talent alone could never sustain a career in professional tennis, the ATP was filled with corruption in the mid-1980s, and money talked. Jeff managed to stick on the tour for the better part of a year before finding out that money could not buy everything Jeff desired. Specifically, a cover-up of an unfortunate altercation with a referee. And another, and another. Due to his violent streak, the ATP could no longer afford to keep Jeff on tour. His anger management issues were causing irreparable damage to the reputation of professional tennis and to the reputations of the sport's good citizen ambassadors, John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors. His violent tendencies pushed aside, the entertainment industry saw something else in Jeff, an irrefutable passion for all things unholy, and of course, boyish good looks and magical abs. He was quickly gobbled up off the unemployment line and signed to a TV deal. He was to star as Armando, the heartthrob protagonist of a Brazilian teenage novella, Armando Forever. By 1989, Jeff was the torrid fantasy of every girl aged 9 to 19 growing up in Brazil. The South American entertainment industry was good to Jeff, but bigger fish were swimming, and when the Fox network called with an offer to star in a primetime American TV show, he simply could not refuse. Jeff debuted to an American audience in the pilot episode of Beverly Hills 90210. Though he drew rave reviews from critics, the public was not so kind. General consensus was that it was too great a stretch to believe that someone so dark could be native to the prestigious 90210 zip code. Fox was left with no choice but to remove Jeff's character, Juan Pedro Lopez, from the show. It was the first time in many years that Jeff was faced with rejection, and under the influence of new friend Shannon Doherty, he turned to alcohol as his preferred method of coping. He tumbled into a downward spiral, and soon, Jeff's reputation as a chronic drunk preceded him to every new audition. Down and out, Jeff finally landed back in the lap of the entertainment business. This time, however, he would be acting behind the moniker Don Jorge in Hollywood's dark underworld, porn. Though conventional Hollywood had shunned him, the porn industry was more progressive and had already achieved a great deal of success using even darker men in movies, and so they took a chance. Jeff excelled at his new job and even garnered top honors at the annual AVN Awards, earning the trophy for Best Role in a Fetish Film, thanks to his work alongside porn legend Ron Jeremy in the steamy 2 Boys, 1 Cup. Success in the industry came fast, but ultimately it was too much to handle for the young man of Catholic upbringing, and so, just as quickly as Don Jorge had taken the porn world by storm, Jeff George quietly walked away. Once bitten by the acting bug, though, the fire never fades, and Jeff decided that he would make his way into a legitimate Hollywood role, even if it meant starting at the bottom. After several failed auditions for commercials and small movie roles, Jeff was hit with a bit of luck. Up-and-coming starlet Lindsay Lohan was working on her next movie, Herbie Fully Loaded, when her stunt driver mysteriously disappeared halfway through the shoot. Falling back on his auto racing background, Jeff offered his services as a replacement and was quickly hired in a move of desperation. Though the job itself was far from glamorous, his role would pay dividends in the form of a friendship, then romance, with Herbie's main attraction, Lohan. The two grew inseparable, and thanks to Lohan's popularity and influence within Hollywood circles, Jeff began to audition again. He was on the cusp of breaking through with a major studio offer, when a serious lack of judgment saw him go on a week-long cocaine bender with girlfriend Lohan, leading to the couple's arrest. If that wasn't enough, a homemade sex tape involving Jeff and Lohan's arch-nemesis Paris Hilton surfaced shortly after, killing any potential movie offers. His Hollywood aspirations dead, Jeff disappeared. For the next several years, he lived off chicken jerky and worked as a for-hire party entertainer, as a magician, a clown, even an Elvis impersonator, whatever his clients dictated. In 2001, while performing a hula show for a Detroit area corporate theme party, Jeff met Kathy O'Keefe, an Irish drinking mogul. The two hit it off, one thing led to another, and before long, they were engaged. Having maintained a number of friendships from his former life, Jeff married Kathy in 2003, before a star-studded congregation. Which brings us to present day, where it's been several years now since the rise and fall, and rise again, of Jeff George, the once fat Brazilian, who ultimately managed to secure a place in the hearts of fans everywhere. Jeff and Kathy are still together, reportedly happy, and probably drunk. Rumor has it that Jeff might even be an official U.S. citizen now. God help us.